Most people will never understand you, and that is not a problem. That is your first weapon. There is a version of you sitting dormant right now, buried beneath years of people-pleasing, emotional chaos, and a mind that was never truly trained. A version so psychologically fortified, so coldly constructed, so layered in silence and strategy, that when people encounter it, they don't feel admiration. They feel something closer to fear, not the fear of a threat, but the fear of something they cannot read, cannot manipulate, cannot reach. The fear of a man who has made himself completely, utterly untouchable. That version of you is not found. It is engineered in the dark. Machiavelli understood something that most men spend their entire lives running from. The world is not governed by kindness. It is governed by perception, by power, and by the psychological weight a man carries when he walks into a room. The prince who is loved can be betrayed, but the prince who is respected, studied, and silently feared, he cannot be moved. He cannot be broken. He has built something inside himself that no external force can dismantle. This is what we are building today. Not confidence, not motivation, not another hollow promise that dissolves by morning. We are building a mind so structurally cold, so strategically dark, so deeply rooted in Machiavellian principle and psychological truth, that the people around you will begin to feel the shift before they can even name it. Your silence will press on them. Your stillness will unsettle them. Your composure will make them question every move they make in your presence. The weak mind reacts. The strong mind watches, calculates, and strikes only when the moment demands it. And the truly dangerous mind, the kind we are constructing right now, does not strike at all. It simply positions itself so powerfully that others destroy themselves just trying to get close. Welcome to Psyche Session. This is not a space for comfort. This is a forge. Before we go further, drop Iron Mind in the comments right now. If you are ready to build something that even you cannot fully recognize yet, prove it. Let's begin the construction. Number 1. The ones who broke you were practicing on you. Nobody hurt you by accident. Let that settle. Every person who dismissed you, manipulated you, underestimated you, they were not confused. They were testing the boundaries of what you would allow. And you allowed everything. That was not weakness. That was ignorance. And ignorance can be cured. The people who broke you were not powerful. They were simply more ruthless than you were prepared for. They understood one dark truth that you hadn't yet learned, that most humans are not operating from love or loyalty. They are operating from self-interest, dressed in the language of care. Every warm smile has a calculation behind it. This is the knowledge they never wanted you to have, because the moment you understand that people move from agenda, not affection, you stop being manipulable. You stop being the target. You step out of the role of the victim and into something far colder, far more dangerous, the role of the observer who sees everything and reacts to nothing. Machiavelli called it clearly: men will betray you for comfort, for survival, for something as small as pride. Not because you deserved betrayal, but because betrayal is cheap and loyalty is expensive. The man who builds his mind on this truth stops bleeding from wounds that should never have reached him in the first place. Your pain was not pointless, it was tuition. Every person who used you, every moment you were left exposed, every time you trusted and were handed humiliation in return, that was the world teaching you its real curriculum. And the lesson was never about them. It was always about the gaps in your own psychological armor. Now you seal those gaps. Now you study the mechanics of how you were moved, how your emotions were used as levers, how your need for validation became the very chain they led you with. You reverse engineer your own manipulation. You become the one who understands the game at a level that makes you impossible to play. Number 2. Silence is not emptiness. It is where power is stored. Most men speak because they are uncomfortable with silence. They fill the air with words, opinions, reactions, not because they have something valuable to say, but because silence exposes them. It reveals the chaos underneath. and the people around them feel that chaos, register it, and file it away as weakness without saying a single word. Silence is not the absence of power. Silence is where power accumulates. Every word you withhold is a card they cannot read. Every reaction you refuse to give is a wall they cannot scale. The man who has mastered silence has mastered the most ancient and most feared psychological weapon in human history: complete unreadability. Machiavelli was precise about this. The prince who reveals his thoughts too freely hands his enemies the exact tools needed to destroy him. Information is ammunition, and the man who speaks without calculation is loading the weapons of everyone in the room and pointing them directly at himself. Every unnecessary word is a liability. Watch what happens when you stop explaining yourself, when you stop defending your decisions, when you stop filling silence with nervous justification. People become unsettled. They begin to project, to assume, to fear what they cannot confirm. And in that uncertainty, you become larger than you actually are. Silence manufactures a mythology around you. The dark truth is this: the loudest man in the room is almost never the most dangerous one. He is performing. He is seeking validation through volume. But the man in the corner who has said nothing, who has watched everything, who has given away nothing, that man owns the room without ever claiming it. This is the forbidden discipline, training yourself to be comfortable in silence while everyone around you is made deeply uncomfortable by it, letting the tension sit, letting them squirm, letting their need to be acknowledged work against them while your stillness works entirely for you. Silence is psychological dominance in its purest, coldest form. Number 3. Emotion is the cage. Most men will die inside it. Emotion was never your strength. It was their entry point. Every time you reacted in anger, every time you broke under pressure, every time you let pain show on your face, you handed someone a map to your interior. A detailed, precise map of exactly where to press to make you collapse. And they used it. Understand this with cold clarity. Emotion is not weakness in itself. Emotion becomes weakness the moment it becomes visible, predictable, and exploitable. The man who cries in front of his enemies has just told them everything. The man who erupts in anger has just confirmed that he can be provoked into self-destruction. Visibility is vulnerability. Machiavelli understood that the most controllable men are the most emotional men. Give a man something to love and you own him. Give him something to fear and you move him. Give him something to resent and he will burn his own empire to the ground, chasing revenge. Emotion, unguarded, is the oldest leash ever placed around a man's neck. The dark psychology behind this is surgical. People do not manipulate your logic. They manipulate your feelings. They construct situations designed to trigger specific emotional responses: guilt, jealousy, insecurity, anger. And then they sit back and watch you destroy yourself from the inside. The weapon was never theirs. It was always yours. They just learned to aim it. This is where the construction gets brutal. You must study your own emotional triggers with the detachment of a surgeon examining someone else's body. No sentimentality, no justification. Just cold identification. Where do you bleed? What words destabilize you? What situations make you act before you think? Name them, map them, starve them of the reactions they were built to produce. The man who has done this work becomes something genuinely terrifying to those who relied on his emotions to control him. Suddenly, there is nothing to pull, nothing to press, nothing to provoke. He stands in the middle of chaos and feels nothing that shows. He processes everything in silence and releases nothing without intention. That is not coldness. That is total psychological sovereignty. Number 4. Most people around you are quietly hoping you fail. Nobody will say it to your face. That is the most important thing to understand. They will smile at your plans, nod at your ambitions, offer hollow words of encouragement, and then return home and quietly, privately, desperately hope that nothing works out for you. Not because they are evil, because your success is a mirror that reflects their stagnation. This is not paranoia. This is pattern recognition. Study the people closest to you with clinical detachment. Notice who asks about your progress with genuine curiosity and who asks with a hunger to hear that things fell apart. Notice who celebrates your wins loudly and who goes strangely quiet. The silence after your success is louder than anything they could ever say. Machiavelli was ruthless about this truth. Men tolerate your struggle because it keeps you beneath them. The moment you rise, the dynamic shifts, the hierarchy is threatened, and the mask begins to slip. Loyalty in hardship is common. Loyalty in success is extraordinarily rare, and the man who cannot tell the difference will be destroyed by the very people he trusted most. The dark psychology here is suffocating once you see it. Proximity breeds entitlement. The people closest to you feel, on some primal level, that your elevation should include them. And when it doesn't, when you outgrow the shared ceiling you all lived under, they begin to sabotage. Subtly, intelligently, with plausible deniability wrapped around every move. This is why the truly dangerous man curates his circle with the cold precision of a surgeon removing infected tissue. Not with anger, not with dramatic exits, with silent, surgical withdrawal. You stop sharing your plans. You stop revealing your progress. You stop feeding people information they will use to position themselves against you. You become selectively invisible to those who cannot be trusted with your vision. Your goals are not conversation. Your plans are not content for other people's entertainment. Your next move should be so deeply guarded that when it finally manifests, the people who doubted you in silence have no time to adjust. They simply witness. And in that witnessing, they understand, finally, completely, that they never had access to the real you at all. Number 5. The man who needs nothing from you is the man you cannot break. Need is the architect of every cage ever built around a man. The moment you need someone's approval, their validation, their presence, their perception of you, you have handed them a key to a door they did not build and do not deserve to open. And they will walk through it whenever it serves them. Not you, them. Study the men who cannot be controlled, and you will find one common architecture. They have systematically eliminated need from their psychological foundation. Not love, not connection. Need. The desperate, clawing, unconscious hunger for external confirmation that what you are is acceptable, valuable, worthy. That hunger is not human. It is a wound dressed as a personality. Machiavelli identified this with cold, surgical precision. The prince who depends on others for his sense of power has no power at all. He has borrowed confidence, rented identity, and leased his self-worth from people who will repossess it the moment a better deal presents itself. Real power is self-generated, self-sustained, and accountable to nothing outside itself. The dark truth about neediness is that it radiates. People feel it before you speak. They sense the hunger underneath the performance, the desperation beneath the composure, the quiet plea for validation hiding inside every interaction. And predators, the ones who move through life collecting leverage over others, they smell it like blood in open water. Your need is their invitation. This is the forbidden rewiring. You must go into the deepest parts of your psychology and locate every place where your behavior is driven by what others will think, feel, or say. Every decision made for an audience, every achievement pursued for external acknowledgement, every silence broken because you needed someone to see you. You find these roots and you cut them with complete ruthlessness. What grows back is something most people will never experience in their lifetime. A man who genuinely, structurally, psychologically needs nothing from the room he walks into. He is not performing detachment. He is not pretending indifference. He has simply completed himself so thoroughly on the inside that everything outside becomes optional, and optional things cannot be used as weapons against you. Number 6. They study you in secret because they cannot defeat you in the open. There are people in your life right now who watch you more carefully than you realize. They track your patterns, your reactions, your routines, your relationships. not out of admiration, but out of strategic necessity, because they know, on some level, they will never verbalize that you are something they cannot simply overpower. So they study, they map, they wait. This is not flattery. This is a warning. The moment you become psychologically formidable, you do not lose enemies. You gain more sophisticated ones. Ordinary threats disappear because ordinary people can sense they have no leverage. But calculated people, the ones who operate beneath the surface of every social dynamic, they become more invested in understanding what makes you move. Machiavelli wrote that the truly powerful man must understand that he will always be observed, always be assessed, always be the subject of quiet political calculation by those around him. This is not a burden. This is confirmation. Only the irrelevant are ignored completely. The man who is studied in secret has already won a war most people do not even know is being fought. The dark psychology underneath this is precise. When you become unreadable, people fill the void with projection. They assign motives to your silence, meaning to your stillness, threat to your composure. And in doing so, they construct a version of you in their minds that is even more powerful than the reality. You become amplified by their own fear and imagination working against them. This is why you must never fully reveal your methodology, never explain how you think, how you decide, how you process, how you move. Let the architecture of your mind remain classified. The moment people understand your system, they begin looking for its vulnerabilities. Maintain the mystery and you maintain the psychological high ground permanently, effortlessly, without a single act of aggression. The most dangerous thing you can become in this world is a man that people cannot solve. Not a man who performs mystery, but a man who has genuinely constructed such depth, such layers, such cold psychological complexity, that every attempt to reduce him to something simple fails completely. They will keep trying. And every failed attempt tightens your grip on the dynamic without you ever lifting a hand. Drop unsolvable in the comments if they have been studying you and still cannot figure you out. Number 7. Discipline is not a habit. It is a declaration of war against your weaker self. Every morning you choose discipline. You are not building a routine. You are executing a silent, merciless coup against the version of you that wants comfort, that wants ease, that wants to remain small enough to be accepted by people who stopped growing years ago. That choice is not motivation. It is warfare. Understand this with absolute coldness. Discipline is not something you feel. It is something you impose. The man who waits to feel ready, feel motivated, feel inspired before he moves will wait forever. Feeling is weather. It changes without permission. Discipline is architecture. It stands regardless of what the sky is doing above it. Machiavelli never celebrated the comfortable prince. He studied the ones who imposed relentless, calculated, almost inhuman standards upon themselves before demanding anything from the world around them. Self-mastery was not their side practice. It was their primary weapon. The man who cannot govern himself will always be governed by someone far less worthy of that power. Number 8. The world didn't harden you. You finally stopped asking it to be gentle. There was no single moment the world became brutal. It was always brutal. What changed was you. Specifically, the slow, painful dissolution of the expectation that people would handle you with care, that life would distribute fairness, that loyalty was guaranteed by your investment in it. That expectation was never wisdom. It was a blindfold. The man who stops asking the world to be gentle does not become bitter. Bitterness is still emotional dependence, just inverted. He becomes something far colder and far more functional. He becomes accurate. He sees people precisely as they are, situations exactly as they exist, dynamics with complete clarity unclouded by hope or resentment or the need for things to be different than they are. This is the forbidden graduation. Most men spend their entire lives oscillating between naive trust and bitter betrayal, never reaching the third state, cold, clear, unshakable realism. The state where you are neither surprised by darkness nor destroyed by it, where you move through this world like a surgeon moves through a body, with precision, with purpose, with absolutely zero sentimentality. Number 9. Most men fear their own power because they were trained to. You were taught, systematically and deliberately, to shrink, to apologize for your sharpness, to soften your edges for the comfort of people who were threatened by what you carried. Every institution, every relationship, every social dynamic that punished your strength was not protecting others from you. It was protecting a system that required your smallness to function. The darkest truth in this entire video is this: the people who told you that you were too much, too intense, too cold, too ambitious were not offering you guidance. They were issuing a threat. Stay small, stay manageable, stay within the boundaries of what we can control. Your power was never the problem. Their inability to contain it was. Machiavelli understood that truly powerful men are never produced by comfortable environments. They are forged in the precise moment they stop seeking permission to be what they already are. Not permission from society, not from family, not from the version of themselves that was constructed by years of conditioning. The permission that matters is the one you grant yourself in complete, terrifying silence. Number 10. You were never lost. You were being built in the dark. Everything that broke you was load-bearing. Every betrayal, every humiliation, every silent night where you questioned whether any of this was worth continuing, none of it was destruction. It was construction happening at a depth you did not have the visibility to recognize yet. The darkness was not your grave. It was your forge. And everything forged in darkness emerges harder than anything built in light. The man you are becoming is not the man they expected. He is not softer from the suffering. He is not grateful for the pain in a performative, palatable way. He is simply stronger in places that cannot be seen, cannot be tested, cannot be broken by anything the world has already tried. They already used their best weapons against you. You are still here. Machiavelli's deepest truth was never about strategy or politics. It was about this: the man who survives his own transformation without losing his mind, without losing his vision, without collapsing into bitterness or softness, that man becomes a force that history itself cannot ignore. You are not at the end of something. You are at the beginning of something that will frighten people who knew you before. Drop "built in the dark" in the comments, because that is exactly what you are. And if this video reached something in you that nothing else has, like this video, subscribe to Psyche Session and turn on notifications, because what we are building here is just getting started, and you do not want to miss what comes next.